Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Go Prabhu.
Very good.
Yes. I prepared for the wrong verse.
Okay.
Where are we at? What's the verse we're on?
15, 1:15.
2:115.
You still observed it.
No. Okay, I did the right one. Yeah, good. Because this bookmark was on 14. Okay. All right, good. And I just paid attention this morning to what. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Tam Chaiva Narotamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Udirayet.
Ojayam Udirayet.
Nastaprayeshu Abhadreshu.
Nashtakrayeshu Bhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke.
Bhagavatyuttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 15 of Canto 2, chapter 1, text 15. This is the first step in God realization. Antakale tu Purusha.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Agate gata sadvasaha.
Agate gata sarvasaha.
Chindyada sangha shastrena.
Chindyara Sangha Shastrena.
Spriham dehe nu ye chatam.
Spriham dehe nunye chatam.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Agate gata sadvasaha.
Agate gata sarvasaha.
Chindyada sangha shastrena.
Chinyara Sangha Shastrena.
Spriham dehe nu ye chatam.
Spriham dehe nunye chatam.
Please chant.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Agate gata sadvasaha.
Agate gata sadvasaha.
Chinyara Sangha Shastrena.
Chindyada sangha shastrena.
Spriham dehe nunye chatam.
Spriham dehe nu ye chatam.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Agate gata sadvasaha.
Agate gata sarvasaha.
Shastrena.
Chindyara sangha shastrena. Spriham dehe nu ye chatam.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Antakale tu Purusha.
Agate gata sarvasaha.
Agate gata sadvasaha.
Chindyada Sangha Shastrena.
Chindyada sangha shastrena.
Spriham dehe nunye chatam.
Spriham dehe nu ye chatam. Antakale.
Antakale.
At the last stage of life.
At the last stage of life.
But Purushaha.
Purushaha.
A person.
A person.
Agate.
Agate.
Having arrived.
Having arrived.
Gata sadvasaha.
The sarvasaha.
Without any fear of death.
Without any fear of death.
Chindyad.
Chindyad.
Must cut off. Asanga.
Asanga.
Non-attachment.
Non-attachment.
Shastrena.
Shastrena.
By the weapon of.
By the weapon of.
Spriham.
Spriham.
All desires.
All desires.
Dehe.
Dehe.
In the matter of the material tabernacle.
The matter of material power.
Anu.
Anu.
Pertaining.
Pertaining.
Yea.
Yea.
All that.
All that.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Tam, them.
Them.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. At the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death, but one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it and all desires thereof. Purport. The foolishness of gross materialism is that people think of making a permanent settlement in this world, although it is a settled fact that one has to give up everything here that has been created by valuable human energy. Great statesmen, scientists, philosophers, etc., who are foolish without any information of the spirit soul, that think that this life of a few years only is all in all, and that there is nothing more after death. This poor fund of knowledge, even in the so-called learned circles of the world, is killing the vitality of human energy. And the awful result is being keenly felt. And yet, the foolish materialistic men do not care about what is going to happen in the next life. The preliminary instruction of in the Bhagavad Gita is that one should know that the identity of the individual living entity is not lost, even after the end of this present body, which is nothing but an outward dress only. As one changes an old garment, so the individual living being also changes his body, and this change of body is called death. Death is therefore a process of changing the body at the end of the duration of the present life. An intelligent person must be prepared for this and must try to have the best type of body in the next life. The best type of body is a spiritual body, which is obtained by those who go back to the kingdom of God or enter the realm of Brahman. In the second chapter of this canto, this matter will be broadly discussed, but as far as the change of body is concerned, one must prepare now for the next life. Foolish people attach more importance to the present temporary life, and thus the foolish leaders make appeals to the body and the bodily relations. The bodily relations extend not only to this body, but also to the family members, wife, children, society, country, and so many other things, which end at the end of life. After death, one forgets everything about the present bodily relations. We have a little experience of this at night when we go to sleep. While sleeping, we forget everything about this body and bodily relations, although this forgetfulness is a temporary situation for only a few hours. Death is nothing but sleeping for a few months in order to develop another term of bodily engagement, which we are awarded by the law of nature according to our aspiration. Therefore, one has only to change the aspiration during the course of this present body, and for this, there is need of training in the current duration of human life. This training can be begun at any stage of life, or even a few seconds before death. But the usual procedure is for one to get the training from early life, from the stage of brahmacharya, and gradually progress to the grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas orders of life. The institution which gives such training is called varnashram dharma, or the system of sanatan dharma, the best procedure for making the human life perfect. One is therefore required to give up the attachment to family or social or political life just at the age of 50 years, if not earlier. And the training in the vanaprastha and sannyas ashrams is given for preparation of the next life. Foolish materialists in the garb of leaders of the people in general stick to family affairs without attempting to cut off relations with them, and thus they become victims of nature's law and get gross bodies again, according to their work. Such foolish leaders may have some respect from the people at the end of life, but that does not mean that such leaders will be immune to the natural laws under which everyone is tightly bound by the hands and feet. The best thing is, therefore, that everyone voluntarily give up family relations by transferring the attachment from family, society, country, and everything thereof to the devotional service of the Lord. It is stated herein that one should give up all desires of family attachment. One must have a chance for better desires. Otherwise, there is no chance of giving up such morbid desires. Desire is the concomitant factor of the living entity. The living entity is eternal, and therefore his desires, which are natural for a living being, are also eternal. One cannot therefore stop desiring, but the subject matter for desires can be changed. So one must develop the desires for returning home back to Godhead, and automatically the desires for material gain, material honor, and material popularity will diminish in proportion to the development of devotional service. A living being is meant for service activities, and his desires are centered around such a service attitude. Sorry, I'm going to read that again. A living being is meant for service activities, and his desires are centered around such a service attitude. Beginning from the top executive head of the state down to the insignificant pauper in the street, all are rendering some sort of service to others. The perfection of such a service attitude is only attained simply by transferring the desire of service from matter to spirit, or from Satan to God. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Kam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun dinatarinam param ananda madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. At the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death. But one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it and all desires thereof. There was this sannyasi in our movement, Mahavishnu Swami. First time I met him, I was passing through London, 1989, on my way to India. And I went up to the temple room, Soho Temple, and he was sitting there. He was Vanaprastha, and he was just reading the scriptures, and he saw me. He called me over, and then he just started preaching to me. And it was so obvious. Here was a person that their whole life at that stage was just filling their mind and their heart with Shastra. And then whoever they saw, the overflow was coming out in the direction of that person. Whatever they'd read or whatever was in their mind or whatever was relevant to share with that person, they would do that. And then for the next so many years, that person took sannyas and was a great teacher, traveling around constantly. And then finally, the body was in decline, and they were in Bhaktivedanta hospital. They were asked, "So Maharaj, what is your meditation? What's on your mind?" And he said that I have purchased the ticket and I'm waiting at the bus station. Then very soon the bus will come and take me. That was it. With utter confidence, complete confidence. Not faith, not belief that, okay, I believe that something good is going to happen, or I believe I'm going to go back. No, with utter conviction, utter realization, because all of the energy was invested properly towards preparation for that critical moment. Yeah, that's all it is. This life is just nothing else but a preparation for that critical moment, checkout time, right? You come to the checkout counter and, all right, what have you done in this life? And that's it. Now the tally is rung, and here's the fruit you're going to reap based on that. Antakale chamam eva. At the time of death, if one can remember Krishna, ante narayana smriti, the whole life is just a preparation for that. Yeah. And it's not something that can be done artificially. Here, what does Prabhupada say? That even it can be done. What did Prabhupada say? A few seconds before. Yes? Anyone see that in the purport? What is it? What does he say? Oh, this training can be begun at any stage of life, okay, or even a few seconds before death. Yeah? But that's not recommended. What's the story of the merchant absorbed in business his whole life? But, he was hearing from sadhus also, and he was hearing that if you remember Krishna at the time of death, you'll have a glorious destination. So he was a tricky fellow, a business-minded person. But no, okay. So he named all of his sons after names of Krishna: Mukunda, Murari, Krishna, Vasudeva. Yeah, 4 sons. Time of death came. He was laying on his deathbed, but he had his plan. Whole life was absorbed in business, but now he was going to beat the system. So he was on his deathbed, and he called out, Mukunda, Mukunda. Mukunda, his son, came. Yes, Father, I'm here. Oh, Mukunda. Vasudeva came, his son. Murari, Krishna, they all came. Yes, Father, we're here. He looked up and, who's looking after the shop? And then he left his body. Yeah. So you can't cheat the system. You can't cheat Krishna. You have to actively, consciously cultivate. Because it's a tall order for a conditioned soul. Which verse does Krishna practically repeat verbatim in the Bhagavad Gita? Krishna's speaking the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of knowledge. So you don't usually repeat the same verse twice, yeah? Why would you? Manmana bhava mat bhakto. That's Krishna repeats it twice. Manmana bhava mat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Twice, almost identical. Always think of me. So what? That's an easy task? No. For a conditioned soul, it's a tall order. Because the conditioned soul, the whole life of the conditioned soul is based on forgetfulness of Krishna. Yeah? Everyone is walking around. And if there's one thing that every living entity in the material world has in common, yeah? Besides those who are devotees, besides those who are like, what's common? Well, they're all different. Everyone's got different mentality, different body, different aspirations, range of desires, right? But what's the common thread with all of them? Forgetting Krishna, yeah, all the time, until they pass by the Harinam party. The Harinam party confronts them, yeah, and then although they're forgetting Krishna, then suddenly for a few moments they remember Krishna. The benediction of the Vaishnavas. They intercede in people's lives. Intervention of the servants of the Lord, who are more merciful than Krishna. The servants of the Lord are Krishna's mercy extension. Yeah? Because Krishna has his rules. In the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, now I've spoken to you this perfect knowledge. How to achieve perfection. How to rectify all the problems of life. And then he says, now spread this knowledge to everyone. Is that what Krishna says in the end of the Bhagavad Gita? No, he doesn't say that at all. Not at all. This knowledge should not be given to who? To those who are not austere. Who else? Or envious. Who's envious of Krishna in the mature world? Everyone. Everyone's envious of Krishna. Who's austere in Kali Yuga? Practically no one. Devoted. One who's not devoted. This knowledge shouldn't be given to them. Pretty much, Krishna is saying, I don't know who you're going to give it to, very, very limited people, right? Very limited. Only those who have some qualification, some punya. But then Krishna overrides that verse of the Bhagavad Gita. He comes as Lord Chaitanya, Gaurnitai, and they give to everyone without discrimination. God himself, God himself going door to door and begging people, you please, this is the supreme gift. This is it. This is the topmost gift. Not given to Lord Brahma, Uddhava's hankering for this gift. You please take this gift. God himself begging the living entities in the form of Lord Nityananda. And our movement, Prabhupada's movement, is in the mood of Lord Nityananda. Because Prabhupada is the representative of Lord Nityananda. So we go and we give. We don't make any consideration. Qualified, unqualified. Who's qualified? Everyone is unqualified for getting Krishna. But we give the opportunity, just as the opportunity was given to us. So it's not by chance. It's a very deliberate process of transforming our desire, right? And the ideal is that it starts from the time of childhood. No, even from before that, from before birth. Garbhadan samskar. The soul, a suitable soul is called by the parents. Through that Garbhadan samskar, Prabhupada simplified it. Chant 50 rounds of Hare Krishna, and then your consciousness will be in a pristine condition for attracting a suitable soul. And then the soul enters into the womb of the mother. And so what, the mother is just eating junk food and watching movies? No. The mother, the conscious, Krishna conscious mother is thinking, now the soul is inside. The living entity is there. Let me start nourishing that soul, reading the Bhagavatam to that soul. Because even within the womb, the soul can be benefited by sound vibration and by prasadam. So the mother very consciously starts transforming the desires of the living entity, even within the womb, hearing the Bhagavatam. And then the soul comes out already with a head start. And then from the age of 5, the mentality is being very carefully molded. What's the goal of life? And it's clear. Any 5-year-old that's raised by Krishna conscious persons knows more than any PhD. Yes, that's a fact. It's a fact. If you ask a 5-year-old Krishna conscious child, okay, maybe they don't have a profound understanding of it yet. Maybe not. Maybe they do. But you ask them, so what's the goal of love? Their tiny childlike voice will say, to love Krishna, to go back to Godhead. That's what they'll say, to remember Krishna. And you ask the PhD, what's the goal of life? And blank, just a blank. Just, nose in the air, puffed up chest, sense of understanding things, but no essential knowledge. Nothing. Right? Prabhupada, when he was talking to Professor Kotovsky, Professor Kotovsky in Russia, that wasn't the mission. That was not the Russian mission. The Russian mission wasn't to talk to Professor Kotovsky. The mission was to meet Ananta Shanti, that first Russian disciple. That was the mission. But Prabhupada was having a discussion with the professor, very learned person, who was acquainted with Vedic knowledge, the head of the department, blah, blah, blah. And then the professor looking at the enlightened soul and telling him, when this body is finished, Swami, everything is finished. And Prabhupada just noted it. Wow, such ignorance. No understanding of the most basic aspect of knowledge. So any child, Krishna conscious child, knows more. So the training begins at that time. Molding the consciousness, refining the desires. And then the kid becomes a teenager. Ouch. and exposed. Nowadays, when I was growing up, we had 3 channels of television. Yeah. And most of it was just boring stuff that had no interest for a kid. So you go out and you play, right? You go out and you play, and based on who you associate with, your consciousness is molded, okay. But nowadays, children, kids, adults, everyone is being assaulted by all the poison of the world. And unless one is very conscious where they're directing their attention, what they're allowing to enter inside the eyes and the ears and the mouth, then the heart will become not refined, not edified, not uplifted. The opposite, the heart will become more entangled. Add more garbage into the consciousness. Already so much garbage is there. Lifetimes of garbage. And in this life, the business is to clear out the garage. Yes. Get rid of that stuff, right? So that only the pure nature of the soul remains. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Shadya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Udai. The natural state of the soul, the natural state of consciousness for everyone. I met a nice lady yesterday at the program, and she said, I'm attracted to Ma Kali. That's what she said. Okay, you're attracted to, but that's not you that's attracted to Ma Kali. No, that's your conditioned nature, your mind, based on whatever factors, is attracted to Ma Kali. But the nature of the soul is to be in love with Krishna, is to be enchanted, attracted to Krishna. Nitya Siddha, Krishna Prem. Krishna Prem is the natural condition of the soul. And just now that nature is covered. And therefore, I'm attracted to Ma Kali, or I'm attracted to some football player, or some musician, or some philosopher, or some whatever, some other conditioned soul. Like that. So brahmacharyena, tapasa brahmacharyena, from the time of childhood, from the time of 5 years old, the training is going on, right? And Prahlad Maharaj, he's recommending, like, the time that's usually set aside just for goofing around, playing, doing nonsense. Komara acharet pragyo dharman bhagavataniha. The human life is so valuable. It's such an opportunity that even from childhood, Krishna consciousness should be injected into the hearts of the children in a suitable way. Yeah, in a suitable way. Fine, play games, but Krishna-centered games. When we were in Zurich, Kripamoy Prabhu was giving a class on Lord Balaram's appearance day. And usually typical class about Lord Balaram is that there's this much tattva, description of who Lord Balaram is, his functions, the things he does, his relationship to Krishna, tattva, the tattva of Lord Balaram. And then there's some portion of the class dedicated to Leela. He dedicated like 4 minutes to tattva. This is who Lord Balaram is. And then he started just telling us stories. But he told us the stories as though we were school children. It was one of the best classes I've ever heard, He had us pulling our ears and singing songs that are usually, designed for like 9-year-olds. But as we were singing the songs and going through the routines that he was putting us through, we were remembering Lord Balaram. And we were laughing and smiling. And, it was a powerful remembrance of the Lord. So it wasn't necessarily age appropriate, but for children, Krishna's given in an age appropriate way. And then one grows up and one becomes naturally the next stage of life. People get married. Some rare souls are designed, suited based on their samskaras, based on their spiritual qualification to pass through life without going through the second ashram, grihastha ashram. For most, it's a natural stage of life, a suitable stage of life. And then so many challenges are there. Good challenges. How to somehow remain Krishna conscious. How to keep Krishna in the center. At least keep Krishna thick in the mix as we're attending to the worldly duties. And that goes on for some time. But not till the end of life. It goes till the age of 50. And if someone is doing it right, if someone is conducting their grihastha life properly, then, well, the Shastra says, that at the age of 50, now we should shift directions, right? The kids are grown up, of course, now everything starts late, isn't it? People used to get married younger. By the time they're 50, the kids are grown, independent. Now people start late. Better late than never, right? But then there's a shift of focus, more towards Krishna, laying off the material side of life. Now preparing, having the sense to understand, oh, the clock is ticking. I don't have that many years left. And I've got a lot of internal work to take care of, right? I've got a lot of attachments to deal with. Grihastha life means attachment. Attachment to wife, attachment to husband, attachment to children, attachment to home, attachment to wealth, attachment to position. Attachments are there. Now I got to get rid of all these things, all these attachments, and be solely attached to Krishna. Yeah? So that injunction is there in the Shastra. 50 years, Prabhupada says, mandatory, must shift directions, husband and wife. Now laying off the material side of life and focusing on Krishna. That's sober existence. That means one understands, has a clear picture of what human life is for. And internally, what should happen? Internally is that there should be an internal pushing. Yeah? There should somehow be this sense of urgency and almost desperation. Oh no, I'm not going to be around that much longer in this body. And I haven't fulfilled life's purpose. Who is Krishna? I read about Krishna. I know something about Krishna, but what's my relationship with Krishna? That's not clear. How much of Krishna how much have I really experienced Krishna? How much have I experienced my own spiritual nature? How much do I know that I'm not the body? Well, not that much. So there's an internal pushing, an internal urgency. In the Bhagavad Gita, how does Krishna describe? In the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he's talking about bhakti. And how does he describe it? He says, susukam. Susukam, it's a joyful process. And it's, of course, joyful process. Yes, you engage in Krishna service, you engage in kirtan, you engage in some katha, you have some nice association, prasadam, joyful process. But Krishna also keeps the devotees in anxiety. That anxiety spurs the devotee forward. He keeps the devotee with this sense of, no, incompleteness. No, I'm not there yet. No, there's a lot of work to be done. Krishna doesn't allow the devotee to be content until they're perfectly situated, until they're fixed in their relationship with Krishna. The devotee feels content sometimes and discontented sometimes. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. There's still so much work to be done. So that internal pushing comes like that. Vanaprastha life. And then one becomes more absorbed in the Shastra and more absorbed in seva. And then sannyas. And that's a successful human life. And it's something which has to be done deliberately. And no one knows about this. Everyone is clueless. Everyone is clueless. No one knows at all what life is for. Big billboard, advertising some stupid thing. And what's the motto? What's the slogan? You only live once. That's it. That's the slogan, right? And it sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah, you only live once. Go for the gusto, Don't miss out. You only live once. Utter ignorance. As ignorant as a statement could be, that one is the champion. Yeah, like in the list of stupid statements, this is like practically the top of the list. You only live once, and therefore what? Enjoy your senses. Huh? Irresponsible life. It's killing the vitality of human energy, Prabhupada says, yes? And this is coming from the leaders, the so-called intelligentsia. They're propagating this ignorance, misleading people. And what's the result? The result is what we have in modern society. Unhappiness, deep unhappiness, angst, confusion, lack of clarity, individually, collectively. Yeah. And so we have a task to perform, a mission to perform. We have to offer. We have the panacea. The panacea is Prabhupada's books. In Prabhupada's books, everything is explained so clearly. In one sentence of Prabhupada's books, one sentence, there's more knowledge than you'll find in libraries, big libraries full of tons and tons of books. Huh? You'll find more wisdom in 2 sentences of Prabhupada's books. Of course, in the libraries, there's also books of wisdom. That's there. But Prabhupada gets right to the point. Yeah? Gets right to the point. So, we're counting ourselves as most fortunate, as most blessed. Not to become arrogant, not to have a sense of, yes, I'm special, or, I'm a person with knowledge as opposed to these other people. No, just I'm fortunate, that's all. Somehow I've been gifted. I've been blessed. How I ended up here in this wonderful situation, that's special grace, nothing more. Not my own qualification. Always keep that understanding at the forefront. That's important. Any questions or reflections?
I have a question.
Yes, Prabhu.
So I have a few friends at the manor, and they have friends who have been to the Gurukul, and they have devotee parents. They've been brought up in KC. They've been basically part of the Gurukul. But after graduating, many of them leave. They don't stay devotees. Whereas other kids who have a good mix of some Krishna consciousness and also some material life, they choose to stay as devotees overall. So I would like to understand your perspective on that, because in one case they've given everything that a parent is expected to give according to the Shastra, but they get the opposite effect of the children turning away from Krishna consciousness. So I'd like to understand.
Every soul has their own particular background, their own baggage that they're carrying. I think it's very important that in raising children in Krishna consciousness, that one of the primary factors, something that's emphasized a lot, something that's focused on, is that it should be a positive emotional experience. That when you come back and reflect on my Krishna conscious upbringing, it brings a very good feeling to the heart. I had good friendship. I had warm experiences. I was dealt with in an affectionate way. Like nothing was shoved down my throat. So that's very important. So sometimes it can be presented in a way which is excessively austere and artificial, and that's not good. That's going to leave some impression of, it can create some aversion to Krishna consciousness. But if a solid foundation is given with that principle kept in mind, that the experience should be a positive emotional experience, then even if a young person drifts away for some time, then when they think of Krishna, they think, yeah, that was nice. I really liked being with Krishna and with my Krishna conscious friends. And the adults were also nice. They weren't judging us. They weren't judgmental towards us. They were, accommodating to us. And typically the person will come back after experiencing what the mature world is like. Yeah. So in terms of a formula, yeah, there can be a balanced formula, but it doesn't mean we should unnecessarily expose ourselves, our children, to material influences. Like, it's good to have our own Krishna conscious schools, and those Krishna conscious schools can be balanced, a balanced education, yeah, to equip the young people for their futures, Krishna conscious futures, and for their material futures, because they're going to get married. And you don't want them to be thrust into the material world without the tools to deal with the material world, because that can be very disorienting, disruptive, and can also create resentment, strong resentment. Like, why wasn't I given the basic tools, how to function in the world, how to make a living? Now I got to figure this out, and that can be a huge disruptive experience, which can cause bad feelings. So I'm not sure if there's one specific answer, but those are some thoughts that I have about it. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, question. It's a very amazing class. I really like the point where you said that Krishna never allows his devotee to become complacent or satisfied with this current level of advancement. It kind of drives them to become more serious and desire to advance. And my question is, if one realizes this, that I have so much work to do, how then can you become more serious and kind of like what to do in that situation when you have that realization?
Association with those who are more focused than us. That just works like magic, doesn't it? It's so powerful. I mean, for years and years, I wasn't reading Prabhupada's books. I would read a little bit, but it wasn't part of my regular routine. And then I would hear Vaisheshika Maharaj, be a sage page by page. And he was just pushing it, that initiative, and emphasizing, you got to read Prabhupada's books, and doing it in a positive way. And because I'm so dull, it took me probably 3 years of hearing it before I thought, hey, there's a good idea. Maybe I should do that. And I couldn't do it on my own. I got a reading partner. Probably about 9 years ago, I got a reading partner. And we just fixed the time. This is our reading time, our sacred time. Now it's a little challenging because of the time zones, right? But this is our sacred time. And we've been reading for 9 years, an hour a day, unless there's a good reason not to read like that. So associate with those take association very deliberately from those who are more focused than us. For those who think, yeah, that's the type of person I'd like to become. And then it rubs off, and try to render some service. That's the magic formula right there, is to associate with advanced souls. It awakens in us the desire to be more Krishna conscious. Yeah. So we should always be applying pressure, not to make ourselves neurotic, right? Don't make ourselves neurotic. Don't drive ourselves into the ground. That's not good. Balanced life is important. Yeah. I'm tired, so take some rest. I feel like, I'm just stressed. Okay, so go with a devotee and walk in the woods. Take some time off. And as Vaisheshika Maharaj says, live a balanced life. So once in a while, go and see a tree. Yeah. So have a balanced life, because it's a marathon we're running. Yeah. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so we should treat it like that. Have a balanced life, take care of our body, take care of our mind, be aware of our personal situation, our limitations, and work within those limitations. Applying pressure, putting pressure, but not excessive pressure that we become disturbed or discouraged. like that. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Anyone else have something to add to that comes to your mind?
Reflection on erudite people on the material platform. Even the home program you went to on Thursday with that daughter, Kishori, she's maybe around that age. A while back, she was asked by her father, "What did you learn today?" And she said, "I learned that I can be a cow in my next life." They have this basic spirituality of Dehinos Minyatadahe
Mhm.
and Yamyamba Pismarambabam. They make that connection at least at that age. And that is by far valuable. And for me, in my service of offering books, it creates more of an impetus to go out with a sense of purpose, as the average person is walking around completely aloof, and can exercise compassion, affectionate way. Appreciate that point.
Yeah. And headed for a destination which is not at all pleasant.
Mm.
Yeah, most people, are just being misled. Prabhupada said there's some demons on the planet, but most people are innocent. Most people are just being misled.
Mm.
There's some devils on the planet for sure.
Mm.
Most people are innocent. So they just need some guidance, some kind guidance.
Mm.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jai.
Prabhu ki jai.
Whoa.
Rahul, Sachideva Prabhu is also here.
Oh, Jai, Jai. Thank you, Lord. Jai. He was all the way from Sikkim.